Okay. Looks like we're good. So, okay, thank you so much for joining us today at Morning at Mac. As you probably know, when we had to close the building in March, the galleries were also closed, of course. Fortunately, we were able to find a way to reopen our galleries recently. And our first post-pandemic installation was the work of Jacqueline Garlock with an exhibit entitled Words I Know the Songs To. That exhibit will be available through mid-August by appointment, so just give us a call if you'd like to come in and see it. We're thrilled, Jackie, that you were able to be with us today on Morning at Mac. So again, thanks so much for finding the time to be with us and talk about your art. I keep saying to people that this is the most perfect exhibit to have to open back up with because it's bright and it's beautiful and it's so joyful. So thank you so much for sharing that with us here in Monroe.
Thanks for having me.
So first, I just wanted to start this off by asking how you were doing through the pandemic and the quarantine, if everyone was healthy. And
yeah, I don't happen to know anybody personally who got sick.
Wow, yeah, well, that's great. Has the pandemic and the quarantine and all that affected the way that you're working?
No, not at all, because I have a studio at my home, and we're old. We don't go that many places anyway. So no, hardly even noticed it, other than hearing about it.
Right. So okay, let's start back at the beginning. Were you kind of an artsy kid who was always drawing something?
Oh yeah, yeah. I wasn't sure what to do with it, but yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Did you study art formally?
Yes, I did. I, of course, took it in high school, and then I got a BFA and in art and education, and I taught art in school in secondary art a couple of years, but it wasn't for me, so I broke away.
Okay. And then how did you express your art after that? I mean,
well, right after, while I was teaching, actually, my brother and I, excuse me, started a t-shirt printing business. And I knew how to print, and he had the t-shirts. So we started our business, and this was back in the 70s, so I sort of learned by the seat of my pants how it was done commercially. But while I was doing that, I was thinking I could do fine art like I did in college. So as I worked that business, I started building my own inventory of fine art prints that I sold at art fairs. And that's when I started doing art for a living. I thought I was when I was printing t-shirts, but it wasn't the same.
So you did the art fair route in all summer of different fairs.
Oh yeah. Did that for about actually close to 18 years.
Oh wow. That's keeps your summers pretty busy, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was great fun.
Yeah.
Met artists.
Yeah, exactly. So you paint very large.
Yes.
Did you always paint that large?
Well, no. I didn't start painting again since, wait a minute. When I was in college, I did large paintings. But then I didn't paint for a lot of years because I was doing silkscreen. And I did those as large as the paper would allow, but you're limited there. And when I started painting again, it just grew. Impact of large, so
yeah,
grew.
The scenes that you have, that we have here at MAC, seem very specific. So how do those scenes come about?
Well, excuse me. I sort of started painting predominantly women, and it still is. And I did a couple of other series, and then I have this, the painting that's there that is the woman standing by the 50s vintage stove.
I love that painting.
She's an art friend of mine, and I was visiting her and I was taking pictures of her for another thing, but she had that stove. And so I said, we have to do something with the stove. And that started me doing women just doing kind of ordinary things and bringing that into the forefront, because no matter where women have gone in the world, we still have to clean and vacuum. And so that's kind of how I got there.
I like that she has her martini though while she's cooking. So the people in the paintings, are they all friends of yours?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
you started painting by taking a picture?
I do. I stage the compositions, and I generally take about a zillion photos for any one painting, and rearrange the way people are standing or the way they're sitting and the way the light is and so forth. And then, of course, with the wonders of Photoshop, I can always cut and paste, and I can add props or take away or put people in a different background. But I stage everything myself. And we go through costuming and the whole, just like I'm making a little teeny movie.
That sounds like so much fun. I bet your friends enjoy that.
Well, they do, because a lot of the people in these paintings are people that belong to a little theater group that I've been involved in for a number of years. And they're wonderful because they will just go ahead and act.
Yeah, of course. Of
You
course.
think of a scenario and they just act.
That's so much fun. It seems like, and it seems like there's almost a retro feel to a lot of your paintings. Is that purposeful?
Well, to some degree, yes. Of course, with the cars, it definitely is. And sometimes I try and I play little jokes on the people looking by adding maybe a prop that's very retro, but everything else is current. And that there's a painting, not one that you have there, where everything is current except one guy is holding a retro 7-Up bottle. And because of that bottle, everybody thinks the whole image is retro. It's just interesting how, and
Yeah.
plus sometimes I use retro props because they're just better looking.
There you go, exactly. So can you talk a little bit about your process from, staging and taking a picture, getting an idea, staging it, taking the picture, and how does it then make it onto the canvas?
Well, we stage and we do the picture. Sometimes those pictures will sit for a while. I may decide not to do them and then come back to them sometime later. So that's like a whole separate part of it. But once I decide what I'm going to do and I size it the way I want it and I crop it the way I want it, I do a small drawing from my photos, and then I project that drawing onto the canvas, because I couldn't keep it in proportion if I didn't. So then I generally go back to the photo and I enlarge all the parts as big as I can and print out pictures of hands and noses and everything so that I can slap those up, because the majority of the drawing that I do with the paint. The drawing that I project on there is just a really rough outline, and it's pretty crude, and it from small drawing to projection, it's not even very accurate. So I have to divide the thing up into a million different little photos, and I slap them up there and paint from the photo or the section of the photo, so that I can get the details right.
Wow. So the projection is really just about proportion, not about
Pretty much.
anything at all.
Yeah. It's a proportion, and it's about it keeps the composition within the borders the way it's supposed to be. And the canvases are fairly large, and I have a really dorky bad projector. So I generally have to section it off and project portions, which, you're moving the table and trying to line it up. So it's a trick, but I can generally get it close enough so that with my photo references, I can smooth out everything and make it all work.
Gotcha. So because you paint so large, I'm guessing that there's kind of limitations on where you can paint.
Well, yeah.
Do you have a studio?
I do. I have a wonderful studio that we built in '96, and generally with the large paintings, it's just got an 8-foot ceiling, so I'm limited there. I did do one vertical painting that was larger than that, and I had to go to another room and get on a ladder. But I generally have a couple of nails at different levels on this wall, and I just hang the canvas and work from a stepladder.
Wow. Oh, I never even thought about that. Of course you'd have to be on a ladder.
Well, on the low parts, I have to sit. I have to sit on one of those little things with wheels and slide around.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's physically taxing. It must
A little
be.
bit, yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit. Up and down off the worst, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So how long does it take to paint just one of those huge paintings?
Well, from the time I project it onto a canvas, when I've got all the preliminary stuff done, and I couldn't even begin to guess how long, because I take so many breaks. I'll photograph here one, and I'll do this, and so from start to finish, when it's drawn on the canvas, depending on the size, it's a month and a half.
Wow. So I noticed that every single painting has cherries in it.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Well, it's just a little signature that I started. One of the first figurative paintings that I did in the composition, I wasn't sure what to do with this one little space, and so I just painted this cherry in, and I sort of liked it, mostly because it's red, and so I decided to use that, and people always ask about it, so it's always an invitation to talk about what I was thinking, which I'm never thinking anything. It's way more fun to hear what they're thinking.
Well, what's been kind of fun is that I find that your work has a huge storytelling aspect to it. That people, and I've noticed that when people come into the gallery, they want to tell the story of the painting.
Mm-hmm. And that's my favorite.
Pardon me?
That's my favorite part.
Is to hear their stories. Yeah. Do you have your own story that goes with it?
Not really. I have one painting that I did that honestly has a story, and it isn't one of the ones that's there. But the rest of them, it's more like making that scene from a movie. If you take one picture out of a movie, you don't know the movie. It's just that scene, and it's still. And so I sort of, by the time I may have a scenario, an idea to get my people to act, but it's really vague. And then when I go through my photos and I start cutting and pasting, it's about the composition. So to me, it's great fun to hear what people make up.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And it's almost comical because their ideas are way better than mine. I don't have deep thoughts, so.
Oh my God, that's too funny. So you mentioned earlier that most of the people in there were theater friends and that you had done some theater. Are you an actress, Jackie, on the side?
No, I am not. Our little theater group is pretty crude. And I have been forced to take parts, but actually I got into playwriting because we were very small and very poor, and we couldn't afford to buy anything. And so I got into that kind of by default, but it was kind of fun.
Well, it actually doesn't surprise me that that's where you would land because of the storytelling aspect of your paintings.
Yeah.
So what's next for you, Jackie? Once the pandemic is a thing of the past.
Yeah. Well, I had said when I started doing these that I was going to paint large as long as I physically could. Mm-hmm. And I've never really made any attempt whatsoever to try and sell them or do anything. I did all that when I was selling silk screens at art fairs, and I just don't care anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but they're stacking up, and I am getting older. And so I've been giving a lot of thought of what I will do next, and it'll probably be small. So I'm having a hard time landing on that because the kind of images that I do large, I would never do small. I don't know what I haven't decided. I keep looking. I have Instagram. I go through and I get ideas and I look. One day something will hit and I'll jump on it.
Yeah. So if people want to follow you on Instagram, how can they find you?
It's JT low dash Garlock.
Okay, great. All right. So, well, that's about it. That's about all I have right now. So if there's anything else you'd like to share with us before we wrap it up?
Well, I don't care if there has been a pandemic. I have totally enjoyed the fact that you would allow me to show in your gallery. It's beautiful. And for me, it's always fun to see these things hanging on nice walls and looking like they're supposed to, because they never look like that in my studio. So that's always fun. And it's always fun to hear, people's comments and their stories. So I don't know, I guess I've been doing it for me rather than to make a living. And so those are the rewards.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing with us. And I have to say, every time I walk past the gallery, I just stop and look, because they just fill me personally with so much joy. They're just so happy to look at. And I've really, really enjoyed having them here.
Well, great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And again, thank you so much for your time. And I guess I will see you sometime in the middle of August.
Yeah, I'll be coming the 24th.
Okay, great. All righty. Well, thank you so much, Jackie. You have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thanks.
All right.